And welcome back to the preview. See, I told you we'd be back.
And we're back for more, just as promised. You know, partner, of course you don't. I have this question in mind about consumers. About how they behave when they buy or purchase. I mean, how?
That's a good question, and now that you've asked, listen to these two amazing ladies. We have Miss Shaira Magdayao and Miss Mariel Rivera. They will explain to us the model of consumer behavior. So without further ado, ladies, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. I am here to report the model consumer behavior, and I will start with consumer buyer behavior. Consumer buyer behavior, the buyer behavior of final consumers, individuals, and households that buy goods and services for personal consumption. It means it is everything related to how and why customer or potential customer makes decision about what he or she will buy. This clearly brings out it is not just the buying goods or services that receives attention in consumer behavior, but the process starts much before the goods have been acquired or bought. Consumer market, it is all the individuals and households that buy or acquire goods and services for personal consumption. This market is dominated by the products which consumers use in their daily life. Consumer market is applicable to both products and services. Marketers want to understand how the stimuli are changed into responses inside the consumer's box, which has two parts. First, the buyer's characteristics influence how he or she perceives and reacts to the stimuli. These characteristics include a variety of cultural, social, personal, and psychological factors. These refer buying attitudes and preference. Consumer buying behavior is affected by cultural, social, personal, and psychological characteristics. Obviously, marketers cannot change or control these factors. However, they must be aware of them in order to design their offerings in a way that is attractive from the viewpoint of these factors. Second, the buyer's decisions process itself affects his or her behavior. This decision process from need recognition, information search, and alternative evaluation to the purchase decision and post-purchase behavior begins long before the actual purchase decisions and continues long after. It means the buyer decision process consists of 5 stages. As you can see, the actual purchase decision is the only one element of a much longer buyer decision process. Thus, marketers should focus on the entire buyer decision process instead of concentrating only on the purchase decision itself. Stay tuned for the next discussion by Mariel Rivera.
Good evening, everyone. So, through research and observation, several models have been developed that help further explain why consumers make decisions. It includes the black box, personal variables, and complex models. So, the black box model is based on external stimulus response, meaning something triggers the consumer to make buying decisions, and it focuses on the consumer as a thinker and problem solver who responds to a range of external and internal factors when deciding whether or not to buy. So as illustrated in the figure above in the first box, it is the external stimuli that consumers respond to include the marketing mix and other environmental factors in the market. So the marketing mix is the 4 P's, which is the product, price, place, and promotion. It represents a set of stimuli that are planned and created by the company. So the environmental stimuli are supplied by the economic, technological, social, and cultural circumstances of a society. So these factors represent external circumstances that help shape consumer choices. Next is the buyer's black box, wherein it is also called internal factors. So what is internal factors? It is the one who's affecting consumer decisions. So this box contains a variety of factors that exist inside the person's mind. These include the characteristics of the consumer, such as their beliefs, values, motivations, lifestyle, and so on and so forth. So the decision-making process is also part of the black box. As consumers come to recognize that they have a problem they need to solve and consider how a purchasing decision may solve the problem. Lastly, in the third box, as a consumer responds to external stimuli, their black box process choices is based on internal factors to determine the consumer's response, whether to purchase or not to purchase, where to buy, and what to buy. It also includes the buying attitudes and preferences of a buyer. Thank you.
Wow, seems like this is getting more and more interesting, don't you think?
Indeed, but we must take a break again. Don't miss us too much because the preview will be back.
Lagapak sardines, lagapak sasar, lagapak... Anong pak ang ginagawa mo kay Crush? Eddie, magpa-cute. Lagapak sardines, lagapak sasar, lagapak... Anong pak ang matigas ng ulo? Eddie, pako. Lagapak sardines, lagapak sasar, lagapak... Anong pak ang pinakamasarap? Eddie, lagapak sardines. Lagapak sardines, mura na, masustansya pa. Kaya ano pang hinihintay mo? Bili na. Mapapapak ganun ka sa sarap.
Welcome back, everybody. You're still watching The Preview.
It was quite the topic learning of the consumer behavior earlier, but it was good and great. I am curious if there is more of that.
Say less, partner, because we are gonna dive deeper into that topic with this next one. Everyone, please welcome Miss Anna Cortez, Miss Mariella Padilla, Mr. Johnster Lapuz, Miss Rizzalyn Mercado, Trixy Munano, Miss Grace Poe, Miss Angelica Panganiban, and Miss Alonzo.
So now, let's talk about the characteristics or factors that can affect consumers' behavior. Actually, there's a lot of factors that can affect consumers' behavior, like climate, mood, or your health. But here's the major characteristics that can affect consumers' behavior. No? First is cultural. Cultural exerts a broad and deep influence to consumers' behavior. Marketers need to understand a role played by the consumers, culture, subculture, and social class. So we all know about the culture, right? It is all about your knowledge, values, beliefs, tradition, right? Culture can also affect the consumer's behavior. It is the most basic cause of person's wants and behavior. No? It determines your experiences, your beliefs, your preferences, values, tradition. For example, is your preferences, no? Like you prefer coffee over tea, or the clothes you wear, no? You prefer dress or polo than t-shirts. Now, each culture contains a smaller subculture or groups of people with shared value system based on common life experiences and situation. Subculture includes nationalities, religions, racial groups, and geographic regions. And the rest of the topic will be discussed by...
So, I am here to tackle the total market strategy. It is a practice of integrating ethnic themes and cross-cultural perspectives within their mainstream market. And the other one is the social class. Society's relatively permanent and ordered divisions whose members share similar values, interests, and behavior. In the meantime, Social scientists have identified the 7 social classes, and this includes the upper class, lower upper class, upper middle class, working class, upper lower class, and the lower class. Upper class includes the rich from the beginning or the old money. Lower upper class includes the new money or the investment. Upper middle class includes the business, professional people with high income. Middle class includes employed as professional, managers, and civil servant. Working class includes the people who works on manual labor jobs or industrial works. And the last one is the lower class, which includes under the poverty. So that's all. And now let's move on to Miss Ana Cortez.
Groups and social networks. Groups can also be defined as more than 2 employees who have an ongoing relationship in which they interact and influence one another's behavior and performance. A group is a number of persons usually reporting to a common superior and having some face-to-face interaction who have some degree of interdependence and caring. Social network. Social network is a social structure made up of a set of social actors such as individual or organization, set of genetic ties, and other social interaction between actors.
In addition to that, groups that have a direct influence to which a person belongs are called membership groups. In contrast, reference groups serve as direct or indirect points of comparison or reference in forming a person's attitude or behavior. Marketers try to identify the reference groups of their target market. Reference groups expose a person to new behaviors and lifestyles, influences the attitude and self-concept, and create pressures to conform that may affect the person's product and brand choices. Word-of-mouth influence can have a powerful impact on consumer buying behavior. The personal words and recommendations of trusted friends, family, associates, and other consumers tend to be more credible than those coming from commercial sources such as advertisements or salespeople. Marketers of brands subjected to strong group influence must figure out how to reach opinion leaders, people within our reference groups who, because of special skills, knowledge, personality, or characteristics, exert social influence on others. Some experts call this group the influentials or the leading adopters. When these influentials talk, consumers listen. Lastly, online social networks are online communities where people socialize or exchange information and opinions. Social networking communities range from blogs and message boards to social media sites like Facebook and Twitter, and even communal shopping sites.
So I am here to discuss about the 2 other social factors, which is family and roles and status. Let us start with family. Family are the most important consumer buying organization in society, and it has been researched extensively. Marketers are interested in the roles and influence of the husband, wife, and children on the purchase of different products and services. For example, the wife traditionally has been considered as the main purchasing agent for the family in the areas of food, household products, and clothing. Although, according to the research, 71% of all mothers now are working outside the home, and the willingness of husbands to do more of the family's purchasing. All of this has changed in recent years. This shifting of roles signal a new marketing reality. Marketers in industries that have traditionally sold their products to only women or only men, from groceries and personal care products to cars and consumer electronics, are now carefully targeting the opposite sex. In addition, children also have strong influence on the family's buying decisions. A global survey showed that children from babies to teens wield particular influence over their parents' decisions regarding on how money and free time are spent, where to go on a vacation, and where to live. Let us now move on to roles and status. So people usually choose products appropriate to their roles and status. A role consisting of activities people are expected to perform according to the people around them. So let us consider the various roles of a working mom plays. In her company, she may play the role of a brand manager. In her family, she plays the role of wife and a mother. At her favorite sporting events, she plays the role of an avid fan. In that case, she needs to wear or choose a clothing appropriate to the role she plays. As a brand manager, she can wear a clothing that reflects her roles and status in her company. Same goes with when she's at her favorite sporting event. She can wear a clothing supporting her favorite team. That's all. Thank you. Please stay tuned for the next topic by Miss Angelica Panganiban.
Good evening, everyone. Now, I am here to discuss one of the characteristics affecting consumer behavior, which is the personal factors. Before I start, let me ask you first, what do you think is the personal factor and what do you think is the personal characteristics? Do you have any ideas? This time, you will be able to know what is the personal factor and what are the personal characteristics. So what is personal factor? Personal factors play an important role in affecting consumer buying behavior. When we say personal factors, these are the individual factors to the consumers that strongly influences their buying behaviors. These factors vary from person to person that results in different set of perceptions, attitudes, and behavior towards certain goods and services. So that is personal factor. In personal factors, a buyer's decisions are also influenced by personal characteristics, such as a buyer's occupations, age and life stage, economic situation, lifestyle, and personality and self-concept. First is the occupation. When we say occupation of a consumer influences the buying behavior, it means a person tends to buy things that are appropriate to his or her profession. For example, a doctor would buy clothes according to this position, while a professor will have different buying pattern. Under occupation, we have the blue-collar job and white-collar job, wherein the blue-collar job tends to buy more work clothes. On the other hand, white-collar job tends to buy more business suits. Second is the age and life stage. When we say age and life stage of a consumer influences the buying behavior, it means the buying choices of youth differ from the buying choices of middle-aged people. For example, a teenager will be more interested in buying colorful clothes and beauty products, while the middle-aged are focused on house, property, and vehicle for the family. So that's it for now. Thank you for watching and listening, and the next discussant will be Miss Via Alonzo. So Miss Via, the spotlight is yours.
Just like Miss Angelica said, in personal factors, a buyer's decisions are also influenced by personal characteristics such as occupation, age and stage, economic situation, lifestyle, personality, and personal concept. The first two personal characteristics was already discussed by Miss Angelica, so I will discuss the last three personal characteristics, which is economic situation, lifestyle, personality, and self-concept. When we say economic situation, wherein a person's economic situation will affect his or her store and product choices. Next is lifestyle. When we say lifestyle, it is a person's pattern of living as expressed his or her psychographics. Lastly is personality and self-concept. Each person have distinct personality influences his or her buying behavior. So first, let's define what is personality. Personality is a unique psychological characteristic that distinguishes a person or a group. It can be useful in analyzing consumers' behavior for certain product and brand choices. Thank you everyone for watching and listening. Again, I am Alonzo reporting. The next reporter will be Miss Grace Po. So Miss Grace Po, you may take the spotlight.
Good evening. Today I'll discuss the another characteristics that's affecting the consumer behavior, which is psychological factors. Psychological factors has four major that influence the person's buying choices, including motivation, perception, learning, belief, and attitudes. But first, let me discuss the first two, which is motivation and perception. A person has many needs at any given time. Some are biological, arising from the states of tension such as hunger, thirst, and discomfort. Some are psychological, arising from the need for recognition, esteem, or belonging. A need becomes motive when it arouses to sufficient level of intensity. When we say motive or drive, it is the need that sufficiently pressing to direct the person seek to satisfaction. There are two psychologists that develop the theories about human motivation, namely Sigmund Freud and Abraham Maslow. According to Freud assumed that people are largely unconscious about the real psychological forces achieving their behavior. History suggests that persons' buying decisions are affected by the subconscious motive that even the buyer may not fully understand. On the other hand, Abraham Maslow used the hierarchy of needs. So, to explain why people are driving by particular needs at particular time. Why does one person spend a lot of time and energy and personal safety and other on gaining esteem to others? In this figure, shown from the most pressing from the bottom to the least pressing from the top. It includes the psychological needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization needs. Now let's move on perception. When we say perception, this is the process by which people select, organize, and interpret information to form a meaningful word. There are three perceptual processes, including selective attention, distortion, and retention. When we say selective attention, this is the tendency for people to screen out most of information to which are exposed, mean that marketers must work hard, especially it is hard to attract the consumer attention. And selective distortion describes the tendency of people to interpret information in a way that will support what they already believe. And selective retention means that consumers are likely to remember the good point made about by the brand they favor and forget the good point made about competing brands. Stay tuned for the next reporter, Mariella Padilla.
Good evening everyone. Now I am going to discuss the last two parts of psychological factors, the learning and the beliefs and attitude. So first is learning. Learning describes changes in an individual's behavior arising from experience. When people act, they learn. Learning theorists say that most human behavior is learned. Learning occurs through the interplay of drives, stimuli, cues, responses, and reinforcement. Drive. A drive is a strong internal stimulus that calls for action. For example, a person is shopping in a mall and feels hungry. A person's drive for self-actualization might motivate him or her to buy a food. Cues are minor stimuli that determine when, where, and how the person responds. For example, a person smells the aroma of cakes and pastries, good, well-lit confectionery store with good display of goodies to eat, billboards, and banners publicizing brand and etc. The person goes and buys the pastry as a response. If the experience is rewarding, the consumer will probably buy the pastry more and more, and his or her response will be reinforced. The last is beliefs and attitude. Beliefs is a descriptive thought that a person holds about something. Through doing and learning, people acquire beliefs and attitudes. This in turn influence their buying behavior. Beliefs may be based on real knowledge, opinion, or faith, and may or may not carry an emotional charge. Attitude: a person's consistently favorable or unfavorable evaluations, feelings, and tendencies toward an object or idea. People have attitudes regarding religion, politics, clothes, music, food, and almost everything else. Attitudes are difficult to change. A person's attitudes fit into a pattern. Changing one attitude may require difficult adjustments in many others. Beliefs and attitudes may be positive, negative, or neutral, and they may be based on opinion or fact. It is important for marketers to understand how beliefs and attitudes may affect consumer behavior and decision making. That's all, and thank you. Mariella Padilla reporting.
Thank you everyone, that is very informative, and I'm pretty sure Denver is pretty satisfied with the knowledge you've shared.
I am, indeed, and I hope everyone else is. But that will not stop us from taking yet another short break, previewers. Stay tuned, cause
The preview will be back.